Really happy to have all of you joining this conversation. This 25th community call. During this crazy market, we have right now about 15 people in the community call, familiar faces and some new faces. Since the last community call on April 11th, a lot has happened. Some good things, some bad things. On the bad end of things, fortunately, BabelFish was unaffected by the tragic events around USD's collapse, but this has severely damaged the narrative of crypto and the stablecoin ecosystem in particular. The last community talk took place on the heels of the Miami Bitcoin conference, where BabelFish was represented by team members from across the RSK ecosystem, and by there we saw prominent Bitcoiners shielding that particular project right next to Human Rights Foundation talks on the benefits of Tether's USDT for human rights. So it's definitely been a crazy turn of events. BabelFish's speech on Sovereign's Forum a little over a year ago was to hedge stablecoin risk and get Bitcoin insurance, but perhaps we have not been vocal enough in this view. We've always believed in the power of stablecoins as a tool to onboard billions to the new economy, and also understand the responsibility that carries vis-a-vis stablecoin stakeholders. So this is why, as we said in the previous community call, slow and steady wins the race. We're just keeping our heads down and the eyes on the prize, which is to enhance stablecoin flow and accelerate hyper-Bitcoinization. Many of BabelFish's community members have been around long enough to see this stablecoin tragedy come, and we sincerely hope that those that did not see it for what it inevitably was are okay and learn from this, and that they will stay and keep contributing to the decentralized economy. Nothing would hurt more than seeing talent leave the space. But the thing is that we should not hope for people to identify idiosyncratic stablecoin risks, but rather we should build solutions to solve that for them now. So BabelFish's collateral had no exposure to USD, even though it was a stablecoin that was being requested almost from the genesis of this protocol. But our collateral still needs to be expanded and balanced across a more diversified set of issuers soon. So we should definitely have an event like this, which was the largest stablecoin collapse in crypto short history. It should be a wake-up call for us to not fall asleep in our laurels and make the changes that we need, the improvements to the protocol that we need. We know that need to be done. So this is definitely a great conversation that we should be having as a community, whether it be on these calls or on Discord, on Twitter. It's something that we need to figure out how to enhance this sort of conversations that BabelFish has always been about, and events like the ones that happened in the past weeks just prove us right through unfortunate events that we hope did not need to pass. But had we been vocal from the beginning, perhaps it could have it could have prevented so much of this that went wrong. But there's so much that we can discuss about it, and I'd like to leave that for the end as a community conversation, if you guys would like to, and I think some of you do, including how loud BabelFish's voice ought to be. But moving on to the updates. So BIP1, which was the first vote we had a few months ago. The logic for the distribution of the rewards will be deployed soon after the upgraded user interface, which we can share some screenshots later. But it's pretty much what we have right now on BabelFish.sovereign.app/money, except there's additional functionality, including withdrawals to RSK enabled, and beginning to add other collateral like BDUS and RDoc and future more stablecoins across chain. So the distribution of those rewards should be able to be claimed with this new UI, which I hope we will all be able to use before the end of June. I know there's been some delays, but there's some really good work being done in the background. And again, yeah, we'll see if we can share some screenshots, and also you can always feel free to reach out to any of the identified sort of like team members on Discord if you have some additional curiosity that some questions or things that you'd like to know about. So yeah, as discussed in our last meeting, just skipping BIP2, which is BDUS, and it will be added on the new UI. In the previous call, we had discussed, given that the bottleneck to implement these improvement proposals, such as BIP1, it makes sense to at least proceed with a simple vote. In the meantime, such as the one proposed by Hyde on behalf of the Delphinarium, to have a foundational Bitcoin insurance multi-sig created. So yeah, given that Bitcoin should be accrued from for the BabelFish protocol, it's something that we set out to do from the beginning. It's something that makes sense, but it's something that we should accumulate. We should look forward for the protocol to accumulate this Bitcoin from the yield that's going to be earned by the lending of XUSD's collateral, and not, it's not just simply allocating from one protocol multi-sig to another. So I think it's a cool proposal. I think there's enough conversation and feedback that has been going on there. But regarding the amount, I think it should be something symbolic, no more than say one Bitcoin, and if okay with everyone, all of that Bitcoin should also be lent out, whether on Sovereign or on Tropicus or split evenly, just to get the best rate, and be submitted officially formally as BIP3 for a vote no more than 10 days after that. So yeah, keep your eyes open for BIP3 developments, but I think all of that would really make sense for BabelFish, and it's a simple vote that we do not need to delay as much as we've had with BIP1. Yeah. So speaking on allocation on protocol treasuries, etc., there's also some protocol treasury and runway report that's being prepared by team members to share it, like a nice report. That's important just for people to see what has been sort of like the burn rate across the teams, and it's important just to share that with the community given the current market conditions. So that the protocol survive the winter for the next 18-24 months and keep building towards its objective. So so something else that I wanted to bring back on the topic of that Bitcoin allocation vote or potentially BIP3 is that it's approved. One of the next things that we have been making on is the balancing curves, and this is going to be one of the most important votes on BabelFish's history, of course. Something that is missing from the current draft on the forum for the balancing curves is the initial allocation that we want to start the baskets with, and how to reset them accordingly. So, for example, there is currently no DAI in the collateral that we have in Ethereum, and we vote that it should be 30%. Then we will need to also start doing those stablecoin swaps, and then soon after we will also need to soon after that is sort of like reset. The risk board will finally commence periodic meetings to vote on updating stablecoin allocation parameters. So I think once BIP3, if BIP3 is this one for the Bitcoin allocation, soon after we should really start moving fast for potentially making the balancing curves BIP4. There's been a lot of progress being made there. So definitely check it out if you have an opinion on which stablecoin we should have very little exposure to or a lot of exposure to. Just drop it in there, so long as it makes sense and it's constructive. That's what we need. and potentially, join the risk board once that's set up. But that's where we really need to start moving, and I think that's what the events since the last community call show us. And I think the balancing curves, it's something that we should move at a faster pace. So I think those are the main updates. There's also someone reminded me, Hyde reminded me that it's the 25th. It's going to be Towel Day. So if you're a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy fan, just a friendly reminder to always have a towel, so that in case you have the misfortune of participating in some questionable project, at least you have a towel. You will always need a towel. You never know how it can be helpful to escape from horrible, strange situations. Cool. So those are the main updates on our end. And with that, I think it's on that note regarding stablecoin risk. I'd be happy to bring it back to have a conversation with all of you guys, what do you think about it, and of course, Hyde, Flametail, as well as the BabelVerse team. If there's some additional updates that I may have missed, please jump in, and then we can open it up.
Yes, I think we have Hyde here. So I think we have the presentation of the Q1 expenses to show to the community. I know we are also waiting for a general report on expenses, but we also keep track of what's being paid for bounties.
Cool. Yes, and that was I know that was shared for 2021. Did you also share the presentation for Q1 of 2022? I can't remember.
Not yet. I'm sharing the link on the CC question chat, and I'm going to stream as well. 1 second. So we kept the track of all the bounties of all the payments for different schools. So we have the 5th bounty drop in January, and we have like 5 major groups of expenses. So the community school, we have story school, BabelVerse, adoption school, and development. As you can see, we have like 3 types of payments. So we have recurring payments, Space Invaders. So these are like more like one-time tasks or translations in the community school. And we have refunds for the development school. And it was set like a fixed fixed rate for the amounts. We have like fixed amounts for the payments in fish, but it's all recalculated in RBTC. Yeah, in the table, as you see, the payments it's the same was on the chart. Next month, 6 bounty drop. So as you see, again, the same structure with a little bit more spent on development refunds. And we have also like one task, Space Invader task for the development. Cool. Someone is typing on that the screen is private. Do you see my screen? Can I get some feedback? Okay.
I guess they tried to open the link that you shared, which is private.
Okay, the link is private. Okay, I will change it after the call, yeah? So again, the numbers, the summary for each of the school and each of the type of the payment, and the bounty drop for March 2022. And as you see, this time we have the BabelVerse as the biggest, takes the biggest share of the bounties. And I think, so this is a good summary of what was spent for each of the schools in Q1 2022. So development and Babelverse are take the biggest shares, and all the expenses in the number. So almost 2.5 RBTC was spent in the Q1 2022. And these are all the expenses so far for 2021 and Q1 2022. The first bounty was paid in fish. So it was spent like 1 million, a little bit above 1 million of fish tokens for the bounties, and all the other bounties were paid in RBTC. So in total, we've spent for 2021 and Q1 2022 6.33 RBTC. So thank you.
Thank you, Hyde. So it's very helpful. And again, we will be sharing a more detailed report shortly, just with additional insight on how much of the treasury is left, the amount that was also sent to the AMM, and yeah, we think that's just it's just something that's important for the community, and then we should strive to present it quarterly moving forward. Cool. If there's no additional updates, I would be happy to hear or to read any questions or concerns or thoughts about everything that's happening around stablecoins. I think that the reason that we are here, again, it's because we believe in them, and every time that it's always concerning when we're not strangers in the crypto industry to things breaking, things collapsing, as we try to create the so-called future of France. But when it happens to a project that marketed itself as little to no risk, and that was being shielded by really, sort of like influential people in the space, it's always concerning. There's a lot of people in this space that understand the risks, understand that they're taking a bet. But then there are people in emerging markets that see stablecoins as an alternative to getting access to something as liquid as an instrument as a dollar, and then if they actually got their hands on that, expecting to deposit their hard-earned money into it, and then without seeking to gamble, actually turned out to be taking a big risk, that really affects us, and we've yet to see a lot of the consequences that will come to this space because of that. There's a lot of things that are happening at the same time. There's potential rollout of the central bank digital currencies, and so all of the narratives that need to be pushed to have that agenda gather sort of like public support. So that's why it's so important for BabelFish. The idea from its beginning, even before it was launched, before it was pitched, I think many of the initial team members understood the importance of self-regulating as an industry, which is why we should have the votes on the balancing curves and how to discuss the correct parameters in a periodic way, and sort of like slowly try to come up with some sort of score system that can help also regulators get a better view of what's happening, and to know that there are market-driven ways to perhaps self-regulate, and if a stablecoin doesn't make a certain, but that's just very that's just, now I'm going into far out speculation, but I do think there are ways in which stablecoin index can be created, and we can come up with certain score around them based on their pros and cons, and it's just something that we need to work on together. I think it's oftentimes it has stayed just on the on thoughts and words, but haven't seen much execution from anyone in the space, and definitely from us yet. So I think that's where BabelFish can really stand apart once we start having this balancing curves, and like a risk call periodically, where this can all be sort of like evaluated and discussed, and together try to bring some real added value to the community. And yeah, eventually the long-term goal, which is for BabelFish to be a good place where people can park their stable coins, and potentially also have a savings product that earns them yield on Bitcoin. So that's what we stand for. I think the market really needs a solution like ours. So yeah, we just really need to make sure to keep building, and yeah, heads down, eyes on the price. So yeah, any questions, any thoughts, please share.
Yeah, just let me explain a little bit about BabelFish stablecoin index. There's a topic started on our forum, and we have to determine what kind of which aspects of stablecoins do we take into consideration to evaluate the potential the stablecoins. And this will be useful not only for the community members, so they would better understand what risk different stablecoins have, but this will be useful also for the protocol. So it will be much easier to evaluate benefits and risk of the different stablecoins for the protocol. But we have to determine which aspect do we want to take into consideration. So please participate in the discussion and share your views. And we have also find a way to evaluate each of the aspects, and then to find a score for different stablecoins. And one more thing is that BabelFish is not going to stay on. BabelFish with XUSD is not going to stay only on RSK. This is our first chain, but I believe that there will be a time that we will expand to other chains as well, and it shouldn't take so long. But we have to first we have to build a good foundation, and we have to have the deep understanding of what we are doing, and which direction we want to go. But we need also the community to participate in it.
Speaking of RSK, there's going to be a few events where RSK will be present, and I was asked to just share this message here. I'm sharing it on CC questions chat. But so yeah, they'll be in places like Paris and Warsaw and Lisbon, Bogota. So if you're in any of those places, I just shared on CC questions chat, and you'd also like to be more involved, learn more about BabelFish or the RSK ecosystem in general, just let us know, or and we can put you in touch with other teams that may be there.
That's a nice list. Thank you for sharing. Any questions from you guys?
I'm just curious.
Yeah, it is a safe space, and we're all stablecoin curious here. So
I'm just curious. Who of you guys was true UST believer? Because we had some team members who, some community members who wanted UST implemented, and maybe one of them is also present during the community call.
I was going to speak up. I was just going to speak up, not for UST. I'm actually would raise strong concerns of any pure algo stablecoin, and even the guest speaker they had on Sovereign recently, which was talking about an algo coin, which had algo elements, right? Was a concern. I think for me as a BabelFish community member, my focus is on reach and utility and security, not necessarily trying to come up with support new stablecoins as much as create value through reach. and a lot of the initiatives that this community is involved in that can demonstrate our ability to bridge, BUSD, DAI, USDC, and others is exciting to me. So appreciate you letting me chat, and thanks, Dollar, for your support on the stablecoin paper to the U.S. Congress. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Lord Delvik. And once we share, we'll start. I think there is something about centralized fiat-backed stablecoins that makes them more solid, but there are some good crypto-backed projects. So not algo, like DAI or Zero from Sovereign. We should definitely try to accommodate while also being aware of projects similar to Frax. To not have a high exposure to it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that was just to be clear. I wasn't necessarily. Frax has some good things going for it. I think DAI is an excellent example of something that's weathered the test of time and everything. So not saying fiat only is the way to go, right? Just pure algo alone has. I don't know that we've ever had a successful model, right? So. And as we try to make this good in different jurisdictions around the world, I think we just have to take care of the reality that stablecoins in our everyday lives may run against regulation. Backed coins are easier to justify. That's all.
It's amazing to see. This is so Lord Delvik, thank you for sharing. So that is the sort of thing that's it's nice to hear from different community members. You never know who is doing their part to help the industry push forward for to make regulators have a better understanding of what's being done, and and perhaps extend the timeline that this ecosystem has to self-regulate, instead of just throwing the hammer on it. So that's why it's super important to build a product that people can really use and be promoted in again, I think emerging markets. A lot of people in this space believe that emerging markets are going to leapfrog the developed countries when it comes to new financial technologies. But the only way they're going to do that is if they have something that at least is transparent, and there's community efforts, or there's mindshare being put on to provide transparency and give them a better understanding of the risks involved. But at the same time, I was having a conversation with someone about how difficult it is to be working on something called stablecoin while we're living in an unstable world. So it sounds almost like yes, stability. It's I think we're always approaching stability, but never really near it. I think the journey of BabelFish it's just starting for the crypto space in general, but BabelFish with a big focus on the wide stablecoin ecosystem. I think things are going to get stranger. This is only the beginning, and we will need to be very agile and have very improved communication channels to be able to survive the test of time.
Just out of curiosity, anyone is tracking what Near and Tron are doing? Because they were aiming to introduce Terra-like stablecoins. So interesting if they change their approach.
I'll take it unless somebody else wants to jump in. So I think these projects, just sort of like by peripheral vision is enough to see some warning signs. I think they have the inspiration. It's also their algorithmic stablecoins, and they're both backed by another protocol token. I think that's just what makes them unsustainable, because they run on faith. And I think the only asset that can run on faith is Bitcoin. And then you have the dollar, but the dollar is, it can survive as is because they have the strength and backing of the US military. So I think to have like seniorage shares to arbitrage when the peg goes up or down with this a made up token that's not Bitcoin, it's really I think for so far it's been a waste of time. And so far, I mean, since I think as far back as 2015, there's been experiments around that. And I think, the Terra, after Terra, I don't see a lot of appetite for people to try that again. Instead, I just see, a movement back to things like USDC. That being said, I have seen chatter online. People are looking into Tron's USDD, I think it's called, because it's yielding apparently like about 60%. So, even more sustainable that Terra was at its, since the beginning with Anchor offering 20%. So USDD, I think it's offering 60%. And I do not know the amount of the percent of Tron TRX tokens that Justin Sun himself has. And then the same goes for Near. I think, they launched the product before it all went down, and then Justin Sun, I think he's trying to capitalize on the attention from Terra as he does. So there are people willing to take the risk. Again, this is what we were saying. It's like, how loud should BabelFish's voice be? We don't have a strong presence on social media yet because we're building. We don't feel like we're still out of the MVP yet. But if, for example, we see projects like USDD or Near's, I forgot what the name of Near's stablecoin is. If these protocols are actually marketing themselves as sort of like low risk or near zero risk, as like actually stable as the dollar, then perhaps we should be more vocal, which is what we're saying. Perhaps is something that we could have done with Terra. It's just that when the noise is so loud. So yeah, that's something that I would like to hear all of yours. That's my opinion. My opinion is, should we speak out against these models, or should we just keep building, minding our own business, and not adding stable coins that we consider risky, right?
I'll respond and people can jump in, but just as a community, I think it's one thing to be against something and it's another to be for something. So I would just, my opinion, for what it's worth, would be that we agree on the things that we support as a community, what we want to see in our ecosystem, what we want to encourage, and why. And the other stuff is sort of left out by default. And I can say and I know a lot of folks aren't in the U.S., but the U.S. Treasury, in trying to bring this up to the legislators, simply avoided talking about algorithmic stablecoins. They found it too hard to discuss a negative, so they simply were trying to focus on, if we have USD-backed fiat type stablecoins, what, if any, role, right, should they cover? And that allowed the conversation to be more focused and more productive. So I think we have a broader view here. We certainly have a wider look geographically, but I like that approach, and that we stand for something, not against something.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the way.
I think so too. And especially when you're still building, you can't throw shade at another project. I don't think that's the way. I think you really need to go for something and not against something, like you say, Lord Elvic. I like that quote. It's a nice saying.
Yeah, Twitter really needs to to reward non-toxic content. Yeah. By the way, we've done some little bit of update on the Git book. A lot of it was out of date or with different links. So make sure to check it out. There's some good things in there, including sort of like a very rough roadmap of sort of like the key milestones from the little things, from the first tweet and being posted as a draft on Sovereigns forum to launching on mainnet. It's going to be about a year in the first week of June. So yeah, feel free to check it out. Yeah, just wanted to share that as well, if you want to see some of the things that have happened over the past year. And on that end, there is some work being done by the community to also potentially do another landing page on top of the one that we have right now. So yeah, that's something that's going on, and it's but yeah, I cannot share many more details on that yet. I think the priority is just the dApp, so I'll keep it at that. Cool. So yeah, again, guys, this is always a safe space to talk about, anything in your mind about stablecoins. And we haven't been super active in our presence on social media and out there. But it's a place where, the conversation stays honest because it's about things that we want BabelFish to represent and to stand for, right? Not what we stand against. Like Lord Delvik just said. So yeah. If you have any more questions, otherwise, I think once we hit the minute 45, I think we can adjourn this 25th community call and go back to whatever we were doing before.
Hello, just a small question, perhaps. I've seen earlier Hyde presented the budget, and the development budget was, or spend at least, was a little bit less than the Babelverse spend. So I just wanted to know, is that due to the reason that we're currently more focused on the Babelverse and we want it to be really central with the project, or is it because finding developers is still hard, even though we're in a bear market and we cannot come across good developers yet?
Great question, Wayne. So that's the other report that's being worked on. What Hyde presented was what got paid either with Fish or RBTC directly to community members. And some of them were also reimbursements for certain services that cannot be paid in crypto. For the report that will be shared in the coming weeks, it includes additional reimbursements that were also cannot be made in crypto. Most of those are development costs, and so they will be reflected, for the months past as well as projected into the future. And so I think once that it's reflected on the report, then development school, of course, that's where most of the focus and energy is being put on.
Yeah, but rest assured that we have enough devs working. Although another one backend dev would be very useful and helpful for the protocol.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
I understand.
Dollar Crypto, maybe you could provide some sneak peeks into what's being built.
I don't want to. Well, I can share. Let's see. Let's see. So, this is not the UI that's going to be going live. This is more like the update that will be added soon after. But it's kind of like what will be going live. It's just a bit different on the colors. So this is the deposits and withdrawals. Then we just cannot really see it here. I want to show you the demo, but it's showing the address bar. I'd rather not. I'll show it. I don't know if this is going to work without showing the address bar. 1 second.
So maybe some print screens then.
Can you guys see my address bar or no?
No, for me it's good.
No, we don't see address bar.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're in family. But basically, this is kind of like the interface that should be going up relatively soon. And it's just really simple to use. You'll be able to go back from XUSD if you want to RDoc or BDUS. Again, we will need to vote soon on the allocations of all of these stablecoins. So it's just a nicer interface than the one that's right now on BabelFish that's sovereign that app /money, or on Breach that's sovereign that app. Here, when it comes to stake your fish, it's just a nicer interface. But I would like to show you actually the one that's going to be coming after that. So as you can see, it's just a little bit of change on the colors, sort of like gradients. So again, you selected your stablecoins there. This is how the governance, again, it's just more spacing. It's just more air. Makes a big difference. What else? And then It's kind of like how it should finally look. And then in here, this is really important. Users will be able to see. This is all yet things that are pending to be voted on by the DAO, like the specific sort of like the tokenomics liquidity mining rewards, how we want to distribute them. And there's a lot of work that will need to be done there as well. But here you can see, for example, if your reward was from Fish, the idea is that when you click on withdraw, it will take you also to just a simple claim page where you select, whether it's XUSD or Fish, and Fish can be automatically staked or just claimed as if it would be with XUSD. And yeah, this is sort of like the work that's happening in the background. There's still a lot more work that needs to be done from UI perspective. One thing that we keep on discussing a lot about, but a lot needs to yet to be built, is to improve the analytics page that you can get to from from the homepage. That also needs to be improved significantly. Not only not only the data that is displaying and the level of granularity, but also just just better visuals. But we're making we're moving slow and steady, and yeah, that's kind of like the quick demo. A lot to build, a lot to vote on, and yeah, much more transparency to show so that we can really become set the bar. I think the bar is relatively low in the ecosystem, say for certain maybe USDC is setting the standard, but crypto native projects, the bar is relatively low, and we should really try to raise that bar so that we can feel really proud about what we're doing, right? And build throughout what seems to be a long winter ahead.
Yeah, and one more thing, one thing is designing the new UI, but implementing it and improving is a little bit different. And we have devs working on the insights, and they have achieved already many things, and a lot of them are under testing now. Some of them are ready. Some have to be checked again, and there are every day there's something new to do.
I keep on telling devs to come say hi, but they keep on hiding under caves. They don't want to leave their caves.
Maybe it's better this way. Let them work.
All right, cavemen and hitchhikers of the galaxy. Yes, Hyde.
Yeah, I just wanted to say if there are no further questions, we could adjourn the call.
Yeah. As usual, it's a pleasure. Always living thirsty for hearing more of your feedback. So if you didn't participate on this call, you can always ask questions in the general chat, and you can always catch up with the recording on YouTube or the summary on Medium. And until next time, thank you for all the fish, and fish out.
Speak to you next time. Thank you, guys.